Height, Catherine Blomeke, and Justin Katz.
Please.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board, Superintendent Dr. Fenoy. My name is Catherine Blomeke. I'm the Development Manager at the Education Foundation of Palm Beach County. I am representing on behalf of President and CEO James Gavleros, who is unable to be here this evening. As the Education Foundation comes to a close in our fiscal year, I would like to share a few highlights with you. The Education Foundation has distributed almost $1 million in programming, grants, and material support. We assisted and facilitated 2 major companies with transformational projects, Comcast on April 22nd and Office Depot on May 5th. And we're so proud to announce that we will be partnering with Florida Power and Light at Crestwood Elementary, where we invite you to join us on August 1st. And we'd like to thank Jimmy Peterkin, the business departments, and all the incredible district employees for your support during the One Giving campaign. You all see the value in what we are doing, and additional resources means a greater impact. So we thank you for that. We'd also like to acknowledge the Breakers, the Honda Classic Cares, Wells Fargo, Ventus Charitable Foundation, and the many individual supporters who love our signature program, Red Apple Supplies, for what it does, equipping teachers and students with free essential school supplies in the classroom. Over the summer, you will see school supply drives throughout the county as we prepare for the upcoming school year. One such drive partners Bank of America and Roger Dean Chevrolet Stadium. We are asking everybody to bring school supplies to the stadium or a Bank of America branch between July 30th and August 11th. By doing so, you will not only support the Foundation's Red Apple Supplies, but receive a family 4-pack of tickets for the August 11th night of baseball and fireworks. So we look forward to celebrating that evening with you. This September, we will be awarding our Go Teach classroom grants, and Saturday, November 5th, is the day scheduled for the 5th annual Heroes for Education 5K Run Walk. All this and more can be found on our website and our social platforms, so we thank you for liking us on Facebook and following us on Twitter. In close, Dr. Fenoy, we welcome you as a new member to the Board of Directors at the Education Foundation. We are your Education Foundation, serving the schools, teachers, and students in the finest school district in the state of Florida. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Representative Wilhite.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, board members, superintendent, staff. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak tonight. You know, I speak with on a couple of aspects, not only as a father and a taxpayer in this community, but you know, the recent decisions that you've brought and you're bringing forward tonight, the initial discussion was about increasing our taxes, and I understand that to support some of the issues that have come from the state, your needs and our needs and the parents' wishes, obviously, of the concerns that are happening in our schools. But my most recent concern is your recent discussion about including the charter schools. And you know, a lot of your discussion tonight, you talk about what Tallahassee has done and how we've mandated things and what we've done. And so many of you and so many of your colleagues have said about, why do we include charter schools and all this? Why are we taking away from the public schools? As I understand tonight, you're potentially considering that same objective tonight. And so the irony here is a little disturbing that you criticize Tallahassee and the members in Tallahassee, yet you're considering doing the same thing tonight that you said was happening in Tallahassee. So with that being said, you know, I have concerns, obviously, about the charter school industry, and I have, and I've expressed it in Tallahassee, and I've expressed it in our district, and I'll discuss it here as well. As many of you know, I have a charter school right in my district that has failed our parents, failed our students, failed our community, and failed the image of the charter school industry. And obviously, that gives me concern because they don't answer to you. They don't answer to the taxpayers. They answer to their board of governors. And what bothers me then is when you file a complaint about them to Tallahassee, once they grieve this concern, you're out of the realm completely. Not to mention, in my opinion, the charter school industry does not follow the same rules. They don't have to have PE. They don't have to have sports programs. They don't have public meetings where the public can come out and discuss these things and stuff. So I would just urge you tonight to not legislate by fear of lawsuit and litigation, but argue on behalf of students and parents in this state that say that public schools, as myself as well, say that public schools are the core to our community and to our state and to our future of our students. And secondly, the aspect that I'll next speak on, as many of you know, is I've been very concerned about is school safety. I've been very critical of the aspect of our school safety, not only in this county, but around our state. And I know recent mandates from Tallahassee have you concerned about future allocations to you. I'm very concerned as well, too. And as many of you know, you reach out to me, I'll do what I can for you. Just a couple of weeks ago, the superintendent and the chairman reached out to me. We met immediately. We sat down for a long time, and we spoke about a lot of it. And tonight you talked about things that I could take back to Tallahassee. Any one of you, I would ask any one of you that has a concern or a wish to contact my office and my staff, and we will do whatever we can to help you. As I said, if you wish to meet or me to help, please reach out to me. But what I say with that is, as many of you know, and you did receive a grand jury report today, and I know you've responded to it. My problem is I don't think you can fully adequately support your police department. I don't think you have the money, and I don't think the amount of money you raise in taxes is going to be able to do it. Because unfortunately, where you are in your position and where the benefits and the salaries and stuff are going to make it very difficult for you to continue to have a police force. And I think the lack of equipment, radios, cars, is going to continue to make it difficult for you to fund that police agency. I understand the benefits of policing with children in our schools and understand that building those relationships and those bonds at the root of children growing up is a long-term benefit to having them understand what policemen police officers do, and to work with our children. But unfortunately, I don't think you have the communication, the backup, and all those different things, and I've said this for a while. And unfortunately, I think you're closer to 40% of our schools right now that don't have a police officer in them right now. And I know you can't get it done by school starts, and I'm concerned that you even get them all done by the start of school next year. And so with that, I would like you to certainly move into and looking at other options as we move forward. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you tonight.
Thank you very much. Mr. Katz.
Thank you. I also came here today to talk with regards to the recent development of what I would personally and have personally already described as some sort of extortion plot to hold hostage potentially revenues that support over 600 art, PE, and academy positions, funds that would provide for additional safety resources, as pointed out, is a serious need, as well as address our serious concerns with regards to the revolving door of employees in this district, teachers, with regards to retention and recruitment. The plan to, at the 11th hour, exert pressure on you as a board in this district to include charter schools who, as were previously stated, have almost no accountability to you and, by extension, the taxpayer, upwards of $80 to $90 million over 4 years, is, to me, absurd. There are other avenues in which you can try to provide assistance to these charters, specifically with regards to security, and I have no problem, and I think that the district should look into that, because the children are not the issue here. The disputes between charter schools and public schools run by the district are adult issues. They're not children issues, they're not student issues. So there's a solution to be had with regards to charter school security if there's a deficiency and the district needs to step in. But the problem is that including them in this referendum, first and foremost, is not necessary. There is no legal basis for including them. In recent days, because this has only been a couple days that this has developed, essentially through word of mouth, what I've gathered, you've all been gaslighted basically into believing that what you've stood for all these years is wrong. And if you're unfamiliar with the term gaslighting, it's when people psychologically try to manipulate you into thinking everything you believe in is not true, and that you're wrong and you're insane to think what you've always known to be true. And I know this board, through action over the past couple of years, has made crystal clear that the taxpayer dollars that come into this district must be accounted for with the utmost responsibility. And by passing them straight through to charters, you run in the risk of having almost no accountability. It's important that you stand firm on the original language proposed on the ballot referendum, the language that was approved of not only by you and the county commission, but the voters the last time around, and deal with the repercussions of a meritless threat to extort up to 10% of the revenue you would generate from this, leading to less security in our public schools, less money for recruitment and retention, and potentially a reduction in those 600-plus positions that already exist and are going to be funded through the reauthorization of this referendum. It astounds me that anybody, particularly in this case what appears to be a single entity, could hold hostage 600 positions, security, and teacher recruitment and retention. It's beyond the pale, and to me, ideologically, it defies everything you've stood for over the years. You are currently engaged in a lawsuit against state legislation passed last year that says something very similar to this, that in certain cases you do have to give tax money to them. Your position is that's unconstitutional. This is not directly related to that. It's a different situation because it's a referendum, but your position has been clear. These charters are unaccountable. They have different standards, different rules to play by. It would be a betrayal of everything you stood for, and in the most disgusting conditions, if I'd have known that by threatening a lawsuit, I could get anything I wanted from the school district, negotiations might go differently. I would not stoop to that level. I don't think that's an effective or that's an ethical way to get what you want. And I don't think the taxpayers deserve to be treated that way, to have a percentage of their hard-earned money given to the school district for specific needs and then diverted to unaccountable entities that I have no faith will spend it in a responsible or in the intended manner. I urge you to stick with the original language prior to the edit of the language that is currently on your backup. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes our speakers. Our next item on the agenda are speakers on agenda items. We have a few. Please remember, watch the clock, and please give us your name when you come to the table. Cheryl Majerzik, Don Pearson, Leonard Mitchell. Ms. Majerzik.
Good evening. Would it be okay for all the people in the room to just walk into their jobs one day and get a letter that states that they're being terminated? No reason, no warning, no conversation. It wouldn't be fair, but it happens to teachers in this district every year under the guise of non-reappointment. I'm advocating tonight for a change in the policy for how teachers are being terminated in this district through non-reappointment. Non-reappointment is listed under termination in the agenda. Tonight, the board is blanket approving the termination of 145 teachers through non-reappointments, about as many people who are in this room right now. And in this district, it's at the recommendation of only one person, the principal of a school, and no reason has to be given. There is no uniform checklist used outlining criteria, nor a checks and balances system to ensure that the non-reappointments are justified. A principal signs a letter and informs the teacher by the deadline in May, and then the board approves the terminations in June. The teachers are just terminated, no questions asked. CTA tells teachers that there's really nothing that they can do. Teachers in this district seem to basically be teaching in a job that's like a temp job. It's renewable every single year. Is it a wonder that why we have a teacher shortage in this district? Other district employees, such as principals, secretaries, or custodians, cannot simply be terminated at the drop of a dime. Why aren't the same processes followed for non-reappointing a teacher? Teachers have no recourse in this process, no way to stop it, no committee to talk to even prove that they're worthy of a teaching contract, no way to remove the scarlet letters, non-reappointed, off of their record. Palm Beach County requires online teacher applicants to answer the question, have you ever been non-reappointed? Non-reappointment is a big deal in the teacher world. Its effects are long-lasting in a teacher who has experienced it, especially for those who are an effective teacher. But they are still non-reappointed. We're not just talking about beginning teachers, veteran teachers with 7, 10, 15 years of experience, those with master's degrees, national board certifications, anyone with an annual contract. They can all be terminated by one person recommending it. Students are affected too, as some classes have multiple substitutes during the year because a teaching position can't be filled. Other students are affected because the non-reappointed teacher was their parent and the sole supporter of the family and no longer has an income or health insurance. Would you terminate a teacher because of things like religion, race, age, or simply because the principal didn't like a teacher? The district's lack of oversight allows for the possibilities that teachers are getting non-reappointed for personal reasons like that rather than for being a poorly performing teacher. Can you look at the audience when you vote and say with 100% certainty that the terminations tonight are based on actual poor performing teachers as opposed to personal reasons? If you can't be that certain, then we need a better policy that has better oversights and is more fair for teachers. Tonight when you leave, your life will pretty much be the same. But when you lay your heads on your pillow tonight, just know that there are over 140 people who are going to sleep tonight knowing that when they wake up, they don't have a job. Thank you for letting me have the time to speak.
Thank you. Mr. Pearson.
Yes, Don Pearson. I just finished my 36th year as a teacher in this county, and I'm speaking to the same thing, so I won't beat a dead horse, so I'll say something a little differently. This document that I've gotten actually has all the breakdown of the separation of employment, a nice way to say that you're fired. And there's a misnomer. Most people think that professional contract teachers cannot be fired, and that's not true. They just have to be fired or let go or a separation of employment with cause. However, annual teachers, they don't have to be let go with cause. They can be let go and no reason given, just like we all know. And shouldn't we just have everybody who is a teacher, a professional, if they're going to be let go, and if they have not been given the opportunity to mend their ways, if you will, by, depending on what their problem is. Some teachers don't even know. They get an annual evaluation that they're highly effective, and then a month later or 2 weeks later, they get the non-reappointment letter. And then when you ask, some principals have blatantly said, I don't have to give you a reason. And what I have said to some of you on the board, that's an awful way to hide your prejudice, your bias behind that statement, because that easily can happen. So what I'm doing is, when I read the statement, the reason we feed our kids free breakfast is because we don't know if they even had breakfast. But when you get rid of 145 people, and this is a document right off your website, this is it. Did anybody do their due diligence and look and say, hey, are these accurate? Did the person in charge, the principal, who I believe they have unchecked power, we don't know exactly what they did. Nobody checks that. It's just a document. And in this room right now, he's not registered to speak, is a counselor who's in that very situation. I don't know if you'd like to stand up, but here's a counselor right here. There's a face of somebody who got a really good evaluation, and a couple weeks later, hey, you're not reappointed. Guys, we're professionals. We need to start acting like that. I'm not saying that, hey, if you did not do your work and you have not tried to mend your ways, if you will, then maybe you do need to be fired. But nobody should have that unchecked power to say, I don't have to give you a reason. I think we need to change that. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mitchell.
Good evening, Board, Chairman, Superintendent. My name is Leonard Bernard Mitchell. I've been a resident of Palm Beach County for well over 60 years. Served the school district for 24 years, rose through the ranks as police major. Based on an evaluation process, I was told by the Florida Police Chiefs Association that I was going to be one of your 6 finalists to be interviewed. However, I received a call on Monday from Mr. Mitchell stating I would not be interviewed. I attempted to reach him on several occasions to ascertain how that decision had been reached. He finally called me on Thursday, June 14th, which I thought was somewhat odd because that was the same day as the interviews. Now, my 24 years of experience based on the 11, the 6, and the other numbers that were used for the 4 that you interviewed pales in comparison. My 24 years started in 1983 when we wore plain clothes, the soft uniforms, to hard uniforms, to so many critical episodes. If I were to go through the list, I might bore you. but I would say that I was either in charge or directing 99.9% of those. And then to be told that I'm not going to be interviewed, I feel is a disservice to my service as both a citizen soldier and a committed public servant of this county. I was told several different reasons. I've submitted several public records requests, but I'm going on the record today to say that I was not treated fairly, and that is what I believe. And based on the history of fairness and equity, we all deserve that as a perception, but also as a reality. I want to remind you that when this district was in the throes of desegregation, I was one of those children that made that journey from SDPBC to all-white Delray Junior High, and then from Seacrest to Atlantic, and back to this county as a teacher, or should I say as an educator, as a police officer, a coach, and a mentor. Many of my students have become principals, superintendents, police officers, and coaches. For you to look at me and then defy the fact that my 24 years was not worthy of an interview, to me, is scandalous, almost blasphemous, and I will say, as Dr. King said, you have told me that the check I present to you has been marked insufficient funds and inadequate. My service was never inadequate as a citizen soldier, as an officer. So I expect, or should have expected, to have gotten some kind of phone call, because I sent an email, called the office of the superintendent, and got nothing from any individual from a $2.3 billion corporation. That is scandalous on its face. Scandalous. And that is how I feel, and I have not decided how far I shall go with this matter. It is now a matter of me standing for something and not falling for anything.
Thank you very much. Board, we, on the next three speakers, we have one speaker who asked to speak only if an item had been pulled, and that's FMPA 10. Does anybody have any interest in pulling that item? If not, then Mr. C, I think you are off the hook. I don't know if you're even here tonight. So it doesn't look like it'll be pulled. It should be approved then on consent. So thank you very much for staying. So our next three speakers, Karen Holm, Greg McDermott, and Jane Justice.
Hi, everybody. I'm Karen Holm, president of For Better Education, a nonprofit that advocates for students with disabilities. I'm speaking today on the Mental Health Assistance Allocation Plan, which is number SSEA 12. It is funded by the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Public Safety Act. I'll call it the plan. Per your staff and district records, a committee of several agencies and district departments was formed months ago. It developed the plan, it reviewed the plan, and gave feedback and recommendations on how to utilize the funds of the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Public Safety Act. Yet this committee has never been advertised to the public, nor did it include any public input to the creation of the plan. Per your district records, a subcommittee was formed. Quote, as a result of the event on February 14th and the current state of behavioral health, mental health in our schools and community, according to your document, that subcommittee met on April 2nd, 17th, 30th, May 14th, May 29th, and June 13th. Regardless of the apparent existence of a committee and a subcommittee, no document seemed to exist regarding the committee's formation, its purpose, how it was selected, the goals of the committee, the intended meeting schedule, its discussions, or its attendees. Regardless of the records that indicate agencies such as the United Way, DCF, the Health Department, JFK North, and several others that were included in meetings, not a single document of meeting minutes was provided to me per my records request. Most of all, regardless of how important mental health and well-being of our kids is to our community has been left out. The mental health assistance allocation plan that's on the agenda today was apparently created by a committee, but that committee's formations and actions were never documented, nor was the committee advertised for public input. Because the requirements of Sunshine are to hold meetings that are open to the public, to give reasonable notice of such meetings, and to take minutes of the meetings, including advisory committees, the only prudent action today is to remove the item SSEA 12 from the agenda, and please properly address the plan, and please include the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go to the next speaker, Ms. Rico, would you please clarify what the Sunshine Law is so that we don't deal with this again?
Thank you. There are many committees that can operate within a system. Not all of them are subject to the Sunshine. Sunshine committees are those that have a particular configuration and that are, as one of their purposes or their main purpose, to make final recommendations to the board. In this case, there are many, many, many intra-system committees that meet for the purpose of fact-finding, providing input, information from stakeholders, and that are not directly provided to the board in an advisory capacity. So that's the distinction. The access to the public and the public input is here tonight. This board considering and debating information and a plan, and not every single committee that's operating within our school system is subject to the Sunshine. And that's the law.
Thank you very much. Mr. McDermott.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for your time tonight. I am the owner of, I'm here on agenda item PIR2. It's the purchase of 201 Southwest 12th Avenue. I am the property owner of 201 Southwest 12th Avenue. I won't take much of your time. I am just here to say that I hope you all vote in favor of that agenda item. It's been a bit of a long, arduous process. It's been a little bit over a year now. I have a 6-year-old daughter. It's a little stressful to see your house potentially subject to eminent domain. So it's been a long process. I appreciate the offer the board has made. I appreciate the work of staff. Joyelle Shaw particularly has gone above and beyond. And I'm actually under contract on a new house, which is contingent upon this house and this deal. So I hope that you all will approve it. Again, I appreciate the efforts, and anything that can be done to expedite it is also extremely appreciated. And if you have any questions, I'm here. But I just thank you for your time, and again, hope you will vote PIR2 in. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Justice.
Yes, hello. Good evening. My name's Jane Justice, and I'm just a common resident here and in the county. And I want to say that as a person, I'm a realtor also, and I get around, and I deal with a lot of different people. And I want to say that most of the working class people out here cannot afford to rent an apartment, and they can't afford to buy a house. And that's a reality. And our homeless shelters, and I know this very well, are very full. And people are falling through the cracks all over the place. And I helped a couple leave this county. I kept telling them, get out of this county, because we couldn't find them a place to live, and we couldn't find them a job, and I know they tried. They went to Texas, and they're doing just fine. There's a lot of people that are leaving this county because of the taxes, and I'm sure you're aware of that. Now, I want to know, was it the school board that recommended Superintendent Avasa would receive $325,000? He then hired a year. He then hired 2 of his executive buddies and gave one $202,000 a year and another one $190,000, and I think that's outrageous. And during his time in office, I heard come over the radio an announcement from Palm Beach County Schools that there would be no repercussions if a student didn't stand for the flag. I think, the power of suggestions, I think that's shameful. Shameful. And then I heard that nobody was going to be questioned whether they were a legal resident. And then you sit here and you're trying to tell me where you're going to get the money from for what's coming up. I'll tell you what's going on. You need to get in a bus and you need to drive around the county and take a good look. Take a real good look. There are, okay. Now, I want to know. So where's our return on the investment? Who are you taking care of? So the school board decides to disrespect the American people and the law and force the Palm Beach County taxpayer to pay for whomever happens to be dropped off here. And so if the tax hike that you're asking for, no matter how small you think it is, it's time you get your budget in order, okay? Because we have a budget. Now, I want to say, if this is in regards to the horrific school shooting, that should have never happened in my opinion. I totally agree we need to protect our children. But I don't believe you need to raise taxes to do that. It costs $50,000 to get a metal detector, and salaries for 2 officers
Okay,
could be
thank you very
$50,000.
much. Your 3 minutes is
Oh,
up.
is that
Thank
3
you.
minutes?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much.
The clock. What a pity. What a pity. I had so much more to tell you.
Allison Rampersad and Mark Lemire. Allison Rampersad, Mark Lemire, Cindy Falco de Corrado. Right there. Okay.
No matter where I sit.
No.
Hi, good evening. My name is Dr. Allison Rampersad. I am a 27-plus year Palm Beach County educator and a business owner. I've been here in this chair many times before, and I thought long and hard about what I was going to say tonight. I got a question for you. When are you actually going to give a damn about the students? When? It's not about the money, and it's not about the curriculum, although it is about the curriculum, but that's another story. And it's not about the school evaluation. It's about the kids. It's about the students. And I think I got some other questions. I'd like to know how the money is really going to be used. Because you guys sit up here and you tell us, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, but most of the time it doesn't materialize. And we have needs in our schools that I can guarantee are not going to be met with this money that you're asking for. I'd also like to know who's going to be accountable to us. We're paying the bill. If I have a dispute with Bloomingdale's or Target, I pick up the phone and I can call somebody. Can't get anybody here. And then I'd like to know one more thing. When is the next time that you're going to come and say, oh, we need more money, folks, because this is a never-ending money pit. And yet, I believe that each of you owes our students, every single student, an apology. And those students specifically would be the ones who end up in my classroom at the university, who can't read, they can't write, and you know what that means? It's not as simple as that. That means they can't read and follow a syllabus, so already off the bat, they're at a disadvantage. They can't follow the instructions because they don't understand what it says. They can't read the textbooks. So how are they supposed to expect to get a decent grade in my class? So my final thought for you tonight, for each of you sitting up there, is this. I know that you've already decided, yes, we're going to vote on this and we're all going to say, yeah, because we want the money. But I think you should think just a moment of silence before you say yes, and think to yourself that you owe those kids an apology.
Thank you very much. Mrs.
Hi. I'm a citizen.
And your name, please.
My name is Cindy Falco Di Corrado, and I just want to share a little story. I walked into a Walmart and had a conversation with the girl at the register. She was from another country, but claims to be an American citizen. As I was speaking to her, she told me I was not an American. There's no such thing as an American because I'm not Native Indian. This is what she learned in school. I was appalled. I said, yes, young lady, I am an American, and I'm proud to be an American. She then started to change the subject. When I walked out the door, the gentleman at the door said, how was your visit? So I shared, I was a little bit disappointed. I got in a little altercation with your young girl that works at that cash register. He then told me to get out of the Walmart store when I said, I am an American. So I'm wondering what is actually being taught in our schools. We paid a 1 cent penny tax last year. Where is the money going? We're supposed to have the Florida lottery to pay for the schools. Where is the money going? I can tell you this, I believe our children are being indoctrinated and not being taught. As this precious lady next to me said, there's not any English speaking, they don't comprehend, there's not a language, we're being dummied down in the schools. I, as now a senior citizen, because I'm older, have paid for my son, my grandson, and if I had a great-grandson, would have paid for him as well. When do we stop paying? When we have given out all our dollars and we're living on Social Security with a limited amount of income? When do we, the elderly, also get a benefit? When do we stop being gouged? I just would like to know that question because I want to know how long I'm going to have to be paying for children, first of all, who are not getting an education and who sit there in front of my face and tell me I am not an American. That was appalling to me. It should be appalling to you, and why there isn't any kind of respect or that they even acknowledge that they live in this country, and if they became a citizen, they are an American. So something's gone awry in history teaching in our schools. Students that come from other countries don't understand what an American is. The women who fought and died to be and have this country in freedom. Shame on the school system. And again, we have paid a penny tax not so long ago. Where is that money? Where's all this money from the Florida lottery that families are impoverished because they're out buying lottery tickets thinking they're going to get rich? It's got to stop. I personally do not want to pay another cent. I worked too hard in my life to keep giving my money away to stewards who are not good stewards of my dollars because it shouldn't cost a dime. We've had enough money spent somewhere. The money needs to be checked to see who is misappropriating funds and how much every person is really getting paid. I'm appalled to hear that they get paid what? That kind of money? I want the job. I'm just stating that as a citizen, this is how I feel, and many other people I communicate with. I also deal with the homeless, and it's a shame that we have nothing for them. I have women, 55 and older, who've worked their whole life, who have nowhere to go because there's nowhere to stay. It's a shame.
Thank you very much. Justin Katz.
Well said.
My name is Justin Katz. I'm the president of the Palm Beach County Classroom Teachers Association. I also happen to be a city commissioner in the city of Boynton Beach, and while you may not respond to public comments, I feel compelled to do so. With regards to oversight and accountability in reference to the sales tax or the previous property tax or this pending property tax, there is extreme measures put in place to identify and make available to the public how every single penny of revenue collected is spent. So with regards to accountability, as long as the money stays within the purview of this school board and the public school system, you can ask and receive the information anytime you want. Furthermore, and it's not often that the two jobs intersect, but I find it very convenient tonight, I'll ask you to take some of the comments you just heard with a giant block of salt, because one of the individuals, I had the pleasure of requesting her resignation from an advisory board in Boynton Beach for making racist and offensive comments to citizens at our meeting. So some of the things that were just said were absurd. 99% of them were sheer falsehoods. Some of them, in spite of trying to invoke the Constitution and the freedoms of this country, actually seem to want to curtail people's freedoms. And I just wanted to tell you that I thank you for everything you do. I thank you for the extreme amount of transparency that you exhibit. And I think the taxpayers, through their votes historically, have had the utmost faith in your ability to regulate and ensure the proper expenditure of their funds. again, take some of what you just heard, if not all of it, with a giant grain of salt. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Please, excuse me, we are having a meeting. If you would like to take this out, please take it out. That concludes our speakers on agenda items. We now move to the consent agenda. Is there Dr. Fenoy has an announcement to make on our principal.
Yeah, at this time I'd like for Deputy Superintendent Keith